everyone. My name is Cassidy Quistorf. I'm the executive director of Klamath Film. With me today is JT Seaton, the creative mind behind the haunted baby carriage from hell, which is screening at the 11th annual Klamath Independent Film Festival. JT, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So this is such a unique idea and such a funny and quirky film, and it just had me giggling so much. I loved the actor's delivery of the lines. I loved the writing. I loved all the cinematic elements that came into play. It was such a fun, I think, 8.5 minute film. So for people who may not know, how did you come about to acquire this haunted baby carriage?
That's a very good question. I was at a what they called an epic garage sale at a antique mall here in Portland. I live in Portland, Oregon, and it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday affair. So I showed up on Friday, and I saw the baby carriage, and the baby carriage was $60. And I thought, that baby carriage is really awesome, but it's $60. What am I going to do with that baby carriage? So I didn't buy it. And then on Sunday at the garage sale, everything that was left was 50% off. So I went back, and lo and behold, the baby carriage was still there. And now it was $30. And I said, well, I have to get the baby carriage now. It's $30. And so I bought the baby carriage, and then it sat in my basement for almost a year. And then finally, I was down doing my laundry, and I thought, I should really do something with that baby carriage. And that's where the birth of the story of the haunted baby carriage came to be.
That's amazing. So from that step that says, okay, I should probably do something with this. How do you come up with this quirky comedy, horror, LGBTQ theme for this movie and the writing? What was that process like going from baby carriage to haunted comedy baby carriage?
Yes. Well, at the time, I had a housemate who was also a filmmaker, and then my friend Dylan, who plays the character of Spencer in the film, and he's also the co-producer with me. We were sitting around my house just chit-chatting, and we were talking about the baby carriage, and we just tossed out funny ideas. We said, wouldn't it be funny if the baby carriage did this? Wouldn't it be funny if the couple did this and the baby carriage reacted this way? And so we kind of bounced a bunch of ideas, and whatever made us laugh, we just kind of remembered. And then I collected all of those little ideas and just kind of put them in the screenplay.
That's amazing. A creative brainstorm process with a good
Exactly.
friend. That's amazing. Well, so your journey from like childhood artistic endeavors like stop motion animation, it's pretty fascinating. So how did your early creative experiences kind of influence your filmmaking style today?
Lots of mistakes. I mean, that's the one thing about, just having creative expression. It's like you do something, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And then you learn from the things that don't work, and then you don't do those again for the next one. And you hopefully continue to get better and better and better along those lines. And so, I made movies when I was a kid. I snagged my dad's Super 8 movie camera, and I made Super 8 movies with with my action figures, my Star Wars action figures, little stop motion movies. And then I made, kind of a horror epic with all of the neighborhood kids, inspired by really obscure TV movie called The Midnight Hour. Oh my gosh. No, I can't even remember what it's called anymore. But it was with yeah, so I never mind.
You
But
know
yeah,
what?
no, I just kind of like grew and learned, and just learned from my failures and added them to help create the new successes.
Yeah, that definitely seems like a valuable lesson for people to take. I mean, I always say my motto is like, why do we have to make mistakes to learn from them? But that's also so applicable to filmmaking and for you, George, a zombie intervention. was kind of your entry into feature filmmaking. So, what lessons or did you learn during that process from going to short film to long form, and throughout from there to here?
Uh, yeah. So the okay, I'm sorry. Backtracking just real quick. It's called Midnight Offerings, and it's from 1981, and it stars Melissa Sue Anderson from Little House on the Prairie. That
Perfect.
was the movie that I kind of made a I basically remade it. I remade it with a bunch of kids in the neighborhood on Super 8 film. So
No
that was
way.
my that was
Oh
amazing.
my gosh.
So check it out, Midnight Offerings, 1981 TV movie.
Well, where can we
Melissa Sue
see
Anderson.
your midnight offerings too?
Yeah, well, no, the leap into feature films just kind of happened. I had met a friend at a film class in Los Angeles, and we were kicking around ideas and said, we just have to make a movie. And so the two of us got together. We got a couple of other friends and producers together, and we all put in together about $15,000 each.
Wow.
Yeah, and we kind of made a $60,000 feature film,
Well,
and yeah, so that was a lot of fun. But I learned a lot from that experience, and that is kind of actually now my new recommendation for young filmmakers is $60,000 is a tuition.
yeah.
It's like 1 year tuition now for like
Totally.
film school. And my recommendation is take that $60,000 and don't go to film school and make a movie. I learned so much more
Wow.
making the movie than I did in film school.
Totally, absolutely. I mean, just that hands-on experience working with other filmmakers and creative minds. I mean, if you're all in film school, how do you even know where to put that money? Like, what was your first kind of process like working on such a big thing like that?
Hiring. It's that was the first thing. It's like you have to figure out who you're going to hire and who you're going to pay and who you're going to ask favors from. And when you're working on such a low budget, you do ask favors. You ask your friends to be, your gaffers and production assistants. You ask your friends to be your actors. So you try to pull favors as much as you can, and then you realize, you figure out, okay, who do I have to pay? What actors should I get in order to get some kind of name value recognition for the film so that I can actually sell it and people will watch it? And how much you want to put aside for that actor or actress or actors, plural. You definitely want to hire good tech people. You want to hire a good DP, and you want to hire a good sound recordist. I cannot stress this enough for any burgeoning filmmaker. Please, please, please get good sound while you're shooting your movie. The fix it in post mentality does not work for sound. It is not good. So you want to get good sound on the set. The two people you should probably pay the most for on your set are your DP and your sound recordist.
Wow. Wise, sage advice, JT. Honestly, when I'm like doing the film festival and looking at the different tiers of judging we have and the screeners, and one of the screeners is a board member, and they're just like, it's all about sound for me. That's all it is. If they do not have good sound, then it's just out. It just, I mean, why would you, it's so
Yeah,
important. So,
it's so important. It's interesting because an audience will give kind of bad video quality or image quality because they'll accept it as an artistic expression. They'll say, well, maybe the director was going for this, but they won't forgive bad sound.
no. Totally, absolutely. Wise, wise words. And I think that's so important too, just as filmmakers, when it's like, oh, we're very visual people, but do not forget about the other huge aspect. So yeah, GT, I mean, your background includes co-founding the NOLA Horror Film Festival and the Queer Screams Film Festival. So how has your involvement in those two endeavors kind of maybe influenced your perspective on horror and LGBTQ cinema, or what has that been like for you?
Good question. Well, this actually kind of parlays a little bit into film festivals in general and why I think it's very important to actually attend film festivals if you can afford it, if you can make it. Because the NOLA Horror Film Fest that I started in New Orleans happened because I went to a film festival in Orlando, Florida, and I met a couple of filmmakers there. And then the following year, we went to Ireland, and then
Wow.
while we were in Ireland, the filmmaker who lived in Mobile, Alabama said, "Hey, you should come visit me in Mobile, Alabama." And so I did. And then we ended up making a movie together. And then we ended up driving to New Orleans. And then we discovered that New Orleans did not have a horror film festival at the time. So we decided, hey, we'll do that. Stupid us. What did we know? Oh my
Why
God.
not?
Why not? Why not start a film festival? And so we did. And that was in we made the decision in 2010, had our first festival in 2011, and it went strong for a good 10 years,
Wow.
10 seasons, and then the pandemic hit, and then I moved to Portland, Oregon, and had to kind of throw in the towel on the New Orleans. But the New Orleans Film Festival would not have happened if I had not attended the film festival in Orlando, Florida, which is why it's so important as a filmmaker to attend these film festivals if you can, so you can meet other filmmakers, you can meet collaborators, people that you will probably make movies with or start film festivals with in the future. So it's very important to have these networking elements.
Wow.
Um, so I highly recommend going to the Klamath Independent Film Festival and any other film festival that you as a filmmaker have gotten into that you can afford to go to. Definitely go. It's well worth it. And as far as the Queer Screams is concerned, I was up here in Portland. I wanted to start something because New Orleans had to throw in the towel on that and shut the doors. And there was a big focus of LGBTQ horror in the New Orleans Film Festival, and we got written up in Movie Maker magazine as one of the top 50 genre film festivals in the world. And one of the
Wow.
things they'd mentioned was our commitment to LGBTQ horror. And so I took that little nugget and decided to make an entire festival around LGBTQ horror because it's what's happening now. It's coming out. It's coming into the foreground. There are a lot of LGBTQ fans of horror, and it now is the time.
That's amazing. I would love if you could elaborate maybe a little bit more on Queer Screams. I mean, we have, as the Oregon made an Oregon Film Festival, a lot of people are in Oregon, and I'm sure they would love to know maybe a bit more about it so that they can attend next year.
Excellent. Yes, we are definitely coming back next year. This year was quite successful. We had some nice celebrity guests. I brought in Lynn Lowry, and we had a special screening of Shivers from 1976 and The Crazies from 1973. Sam Irving, director, was our big guest of honor. We gave him a special Career Achievement Award, and he directed Elvira's Haunted Hills. And then we screened Elvira's Haunted Hills, and Elvira herself came. Not dressed as Elvira, but actress Cassandra Peterson came to the screening of Elvira's Haunted Hills and closed out our festival with a huge bang, and it was quite exciting. So yeah, so next year I have to figure out how to top it.
Wow, how special. That's amazing, JT. Major congrats on all those big successes with the film festivals that you've run. Because yeah, it's a job. So I would also echo your sentiment though. Kind of what's so special is the filmmaker community and like really just the filmmakers who are coming and we love presenting their work to the public and to the audience who might not be able to get to see have access to independent films but just kind of the connections that are made at film festivals and
Yeah.
the people you meet and the filmmakers and celebrating the work is just really unlike anything else. So I'm sure you feel that sentiment too with the film festivals that you've run.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and such a way to also build community. How has kind of moving to Portland and I know there's such a big, amazing filmmaker base there. How has that experience been through creative endeavors and also just through networking?
It's been great. I mean, I knew moving up to Portland was that there was going to be a film community up here. It was kind of like one of the reasons that drew me to the Pacific Northwest and to Portland in general was because of the film community and the arts community. I knew I was going into that. And so, yeah, as soon as kind of I landed in 2021, I kind of took 2021 and planted a whole bunch of seeds
Wow.
and then slowly kind of watered them in 2022. So now in 2023, like everything suddenly grew. It was like an explosion of stuff. It was the
Wow.
film festival. I shot Haunted Baby Carriage in February of this year and turned it around in a month and started submitting to film festivals. But I wouldn't have been able to do that without having to met people in the film community here in Portland. And by doing that, I did that with uh, participating in 48-hour film competitions.
Wow.
Um, those kind of things where you get together with a group of people and 48 hours you have to write, shoot, edit, and present a short film. So I've met people from that experience, and they helped me out with the film festival or the Haunted Baby Carriage from Hell. There's also a lot of message boards and groups that are community based film groups. So you just kind of like, hey, anybody want to make a movie this weekend? And several people will say, yeah, I got nothing to do, and then you go out and you make a movie, and you get the experience, you learn, you make those failures, you grow from those failures, and you make connections.
Wow, absolutely. That is amazing, not only advice, but just like kind of that community. It sounds really, really wonderful. And I am so intrigued in that 48-hour film competition. That sounds like something maybe Klamath Film will have to do in the future for sure.
You should. You
Yeah,
should. It's a lot of fun. It's a way to get it's a way to get people involved
right.
and to get people together and quite a network little event, and it's a fun little challenge. I mean, it's like you give all the filmmakers a prop, a line of dialogue, and a character name, and they all have to use those three things in their little 5-minute film, and then there's different genres that they can make the movies in and stuff. And so it's quite, fun to see, the creative process that you're basically forced to do in just a short period of time.
Totally. Oh my gosh, how fun. I'm sure just seeing where different people go and just backgrounds and perspectives, what a fun kind of melding of skills that would be. So yeah, as far as the Haunted Baby Carriage from Hell goes, I don't know if I've ever seen an LGBTQ comedy horror genre representation before, and clearly you are the person to talk to with this field. So what is kind of maybe the background there, or just the LGBTQ community? Um, what has this been like representative for, or meaning, and the history of this subgenre?
Hmm. Well, I'm not quite sure about the subgenre of horror comedy in LGBTQ. Uh, Personally, I have always been kind of like involved in comedy. I used to do improvisational comedy for years and years and years. I was a part of a comedy troupe called Comedy Sports, which was a nationwide comedy troupe, and some people might have heard of Comedy Sports. There's actually one up here in Portland.
Oh my god!
Um, so I did that for a good 10 years. And then there was a improv troupe in Los Angeles called Improv Olympic that came out of Chicago. And I did that for about 3 or 4 years. And I did the improvised musical. And one of the things we did was also an improvised Shakespeare show where we did an hour-long improvised Shakespeare show.
Oh my
It
gosh!
was called the Spontaneous Shakespeare Company,
Ah,
and we just got the name of a play, and then we just went off for an hour and created things up as we went along. So the comedy element has always been kind of a part of me, and so I just incorporated that comedy stuff into the horror that's also always been a part of me because I've always been a big horror geek, and so that's how that kind of came to be. But as far as like LGBT and horror, I don't know if you know this, but there's an element of that's going around as far as people are talking about LGBTQ and horror is the concept of the other. And the other, the best example of the other is Frankenstein's monster. So in the book Frankenstein and the movie adaptations as well, Dr. Frankenstein, the creator, creates a creation. And in the beginning, the creator, Frankenstein, loves the creation, the monster. But then the monster is different than the villagers, than the other kids. And so then the monster is hated by the villagers and taunted and basically eventually killed by the villagers and rejected by its creator. So
Wow.
the creator, Dr. Frankenstein, rejects the monster, rejects his own creation, you know, buckling under the pressure, I guess, of the villagers, of the people, of society, and
Wow.
then ends up having to kill the creation. And that's an LGBTQ story. I mean, that's what happens when a lot of young people, a lot of queer people come out. You know, they're loved by their family, they're loved by their friends, and they're loved by their community, and then they're different. They're the monster, and now they're scorned, and they must be destroyed. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah.
and so we as a queer audience can identify with these characters. We can identify with the monster. We can identify with the other. You know, and so that's why we're drawn to horror films and horror stories and novels and comic books and things like that, because we can identify with those characters. We can see ourselves in those stories.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that knowledge and that just story base. I didn't know that, and so that's really fascinating and really interesting to hear. So thank you so much for sharing that. So is there anything in the Haunted Baby Carriage from Hell. So I just love that this whole inanimate object not only has a whole movie about it, but it also is like its own character in and of itself. So that gave me so many laughs throughout the film. I just thought it was wonderful and quirky and funny. Did you have any moments from the set that you couldn't stop laughing at, or any behind the scenes thing from that character development of the baby carriage itself?
Uh, yeah, I mean, the carriage. What's so funny is that the carriage it has such a personality by the end that you totally feel sorry for the
Yep.
carriage. You
Yep.
know, you're just like, oh no, poor baby, come live in my house.
Yep.
You know, you're
Not
just
me.
sad for you're sad for the carriage, and you know what a testament to the element of utilizing uh, movement and action and sound and character response to an inanimate object to give it a certain kind of life. I mean, that's the magic of the movies. Actually, it's very very fascinating to see that happen and to see people's response and reaction at the end when the baby carriage is ostracized and banished from the house, and you're like, why?
Out on the street.
Out on in the rain, which I couldn't get. I swear, it's like Portland is known for its rain, right? Like Pacific Northwest, it rains a lot here supposedly. But I swear, I spent weeks waiting for rain to finally get that shot at the end with the carriage rolling down the street in the rain, and I just never got it, and it eventually had to add digital rain. Can you believe it? Digital rain
Ridiculous.
in Oregon. Digital rain.
Well,
Um,
yeah, Klamath Falls can understand for sure.
yeah. No, we had a lot of fun on the set, and I think the funniest time was just that dinner scene because there's six of us, six actors there, just boom, boom, boom off each other, and just some really hilarious stuff that happened during the process of that. I mean, the whole idea of like the speed of the comedy and the speed of the dialogue is inspired for like the screwball comedies from like the 1930s and stuff, where it's like the dialogue was boom, 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 right on top of each other. And so, yeah, we just had a blast.
Oh, man, it makes me wanna be a part of it. And you kind of feel like you are when you're watching it, which is another beautiful testament to the film itself and,
Yeah.
just the storyline. So, GT, wonderful job. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you tonight. Was there anything else you wanted to add, before we go about your film or about anything else?
Yes. There's going to be a sequel. That's right. We're
No.
actually planning like two other films with the baby carriage.
Yes.
So,
Oh my gosh,
so,
my
so
dreams
the
are answered.
so the next film is going to be like the uh like the creepy, like the like I don't know. It's like a forest. It's like the haunted forest from hell. So the characters of Spencer and Cameron go camping,
Oh my gosh.
and they run into a documentary film crew that's doing a documentary on a Blair Witch type kind of evil that's happening in the forest. But they don't care. They're busy camping and doing their own thing. And then, of course, they come across the baby carriage that's been living in the forest off the grid since it's been kicked out of the house.
Stop.
And those are just a little bit of the teases of the second film. So, and then the third film is going to be a Christmas themed holiday, kind of like, Killer Santa Claus and the baby carriage, saves the day.
No way. Oh my gosh. I love this whole character arc that's happening for the baby carriage, his whole new lease on life. And also, I just can't get enough of those characters. So I am so excited to see what they're going to do in the woods because that is a hilarious premise. So, oh man, JT, well, we can't wait to see what you make next. And we so hope that it is submitted to our festival next year as well, whenever it's finished up. But yeah, we so appreciate your work, whether it's in filmmaking or in film festival coordinating. So thank you so much for all you do for the arts and for the LGBT community. We're super lucky to have you part of KIFF this year.
I'm so excited to come, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. And I will be there in person.
Woo,
So,
there we go.
woo!
Awesome. Well, thank you, JT.